Sometimes when we don't have that template, we just overlook things because we're in love and we've been love bombed.
Hello, I am Dr. Boosalis.
And I'm Dr. Lauren Fisher.
And today we're asking, do you know what the ultimate red flags are in dating?
And boy, we better be sober for this topic. So we're going to be drinking some Recess Zero Proof Classic Cosmo. So I found this at our local Trader Joe's, and it piqued my interest because I do love a good Cosmo. And this looks like it was founded by Benjamin Witt in 2017, who wanted to design something like the antidote to like Red Bulls and things like that, and really focus on getting calm, cool, and collected in this era of chaos. And I say that about being sober, which we normally are, but for today in particular, because what we understand from our friends, our family, and our clients, the dating world is chaotic.
You still in it right now.
Me too. So we love the topic of navigating dating consciously. And so today we're going to be all about red flags, green flags, what to look for, and so on.
Mm-hmm. And you might ask, well, how come we're experts if we're not dating right now?
It's a great question.
But we talk to hundreds and hundreds of people every year who are dating. So we actually have more of a sample size than most people.
That's accurate. And some things are consistent, whether it's apps or, some things change based on the time, but so there are some standards about relationships that have held true over time and through research about what is healthy and what's unhealthy. But this is always fun to me, or at least to do this with my clients, because I sure wish someone did this with me when I was 21 or even earlier, to be like, what are you looking for? Because a lot of people do not have that template of what they're looking for, or the list of red, green, and maybe even yellow flags. And I feel like when you've got this, like you know what you're looking for when you go into dating, it's so much easier. Like, oops, there's that red flag and that red flag. Whereas sometimes when we don't have that template, we just overlook things because we're in love and we've been love bombed,
Which is the number one red flag.
Right.
For me, love bombing.
Yes. So let's talk about red flags. Red flags. What are some big red flags?
I think consistently when I've had my clients come in and talk to me about being love bombed, I mean, 99, if not 100% of the time, it doesn't turn out so well.
Yeah.
And it doesn't turn out so well in a really bad way. Like it becomes this really toxic, unhealthy, scary thing. So that excessive adoration is a problem.
Yeah, we were just talking about this on our narcissistic episode, which you may want to tune into. But love bombing is all up front. It's intense. So what it might look like in dating is that people all of a sudden are in constant communication with you from the get-go. They're texting all day. They're saying all these comments. You're wonderful. You're beautiful. Like you're a soulmate for me. They want to spend time. By week 2, they're in love. Week 3, they're planning your wedding. So, if you are stable and secure, you feel this is like intense. And your intuition will be like, this is wild.
This is too much.
Yeah. But it feels so great, because of all those neurotransmitters. And especially in today's day and age where there's so much disappointing with dating. The stories are really horrifying and saddening, how people just ghost or don't show up, or like the less accountability. So I think that also makes people more vulnerable to love bombers.
Yeah. The gaslighting. And then I recently read an article there was a term called ghostlighting. So it's gaslighting combined with ghosting.
Mm-hmm.
So they ghost you and then they're like, what are you talking about? I didn't do that. I was just busy. So that is another thing that's been coming up a lot in my dating stories with my client.
Yeah. Well, I think that leads to another red flag. Yeah. Inconsistency. We talk about how our personality patterns are made up of consistent patterns in the way we show up and the way we express our feelings and our behaviors. So Consistency of someone's actions tells a lot about them, or inconsistency does. And so I often say to people, even from the beginning, to build trust, right? That breeds trust that people are going to show up in the same way over and over. So, what does that look like if they say, hey, let's plan a date for Saturday? Do they show up? Do they follow through? Do they cancel at the last minute? Once you start communicating, let's say you start off earlier, just texting a little bit, and going on dates, he's picking up. Are they like consistent, or are they disappearing for a week or two? Like, oh, I was on a secret mission. I hate when I hear that. I think so many people in the DC area, they use this intelligence cover. Yeah, and then they show up. But a lot of times people don't explain. And so inconsistency could be, I mean, over time, if that's the pattern and you've talked to them, that's a big red flag.
Another really huge one that comes up a lot is talking really badly about all your exes, especially on a first date. That's a problem. We just talked to someone we were meeting with the bar crawl a couple weeks ago, and she said that she went on a date, and the date was like 45 minutes. And the entire time, this man talked about his exes and how awful they were. That is it. Run.
Yeah, I know, right? And it's also, I think it's very telling the way you talk about your exes, right? They're crazy, they were unstable versus like, hey, this is what happened in the relationship because of my trauma. No, someone may not say that, but they're like, hey, I had difficulty taking responsibility, but I now see my ways were, she had this issue. Like, you talked about it as because there's always two people that, kind of like,
Yeah. You're participating.
yeah, you're participating. So, but yeah, talking really badly about exes. I think, yeah, a huge one is if you're on a date. I hear this a lot from my female friends. They're on a date. They're like, we're 45 minutes in. And all this person has done is talk about themselves the entire time. And they haven't asked one question about the other person. So I think people are savvy enough now to be like, I'm only doing like half-hour dates and giving themselves permission to leave. Because you're like, what's the point? Like,
That's a problem.
what? That's a big problem.
You don't want to know me? Why are you here?
Why are you here? Seriously.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, overly charming could be a big red flag. That charismatic, outgoing, but maybe he is lacking depth.
Yeah.
Insight.
The boundary pushers. And the thing that a lot of people don't realize is a boundary is time. Like, people are in therapy are aware of physical boundary, like don't cross into my space and touch me, but they're not aware that time is a big boundary. So if somebody is more than 15 late to a date, leave. That is unacceptable. I mean, look, if the guy don't car accident or something, that's different. But if they're consistently late, that's a problem. Taking up your time.
My sister-in-law, I love her. She has great boundaries with dating, and she absolutely, they're not 10 minutes there. She's like, you just don't care enough. You don't care enough to get there. You don't care enough to, inform me. And I think, of course, I'm always like, is there an exception? So she's like, especially on the first date, you're trying to make an
first date.
Yeah, of course. If someone is showing up on time 9 out of 10 times and there's just one time they explain it, there's variability. But how much do they care?
Yeah. And they're trying, and like Chris Rock says, their representative comes to the first several dates. Not really the best version. The best version of you at that. Like, that's not good.
Yikes. I'm going to say this one sensitively. I think a big red flag is unaddressed trauma. Everybody's got some stuff, right? But if you've been in a pattern of relationship, let's say it's your fourth breakup, fourth or fifth divorce, and it's the same pattern, and you have no insight and you've done no work on yourself, I think that's a red flag for those who are conscious and working on themselves. And when I say working, I mean just being, I don't know, just trying to be the healthiest person they can and being aware of that. We're aware of different patterns and we're aware of how that's going to show up in the relationship.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're like, oh, I'm going to be the savior and help this person, but they're not helping themselves, that's going to be a problem.
Even if that person has been through many relationships, but there's a sense of like, self-exploration and accountability. Like, look, this is what I was doing. This is the trauma I was playing out. And this is how I worked on it. Like, last week I was on a podcast called Plenty of Husbands with Robin Fisher Offer. And she calls it Plenty of Husbands because she's been married several times. And she found the love of her life at 54, I think she said. And so we were talking about how, yeah, we're replaying our trauma, reenacting it. And then you get treatment, you get help, you get healed, and you break your patterns. But there's a sense of accountability. There's a sense of, okay, I've been participating in these relationships as well. They're not just all happening to me, right? Like there's some sense of responsibility as well. So yeah. But going into my next big red flag I've always had is how they treat the restaurant staff. If you're on a date and they're treating the restaurant staff poorly, that is a huge deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
That's like shows you so much, right?
Yeah. Because if you can't even like hold that initially, right? You treat people as they're less than, totally.
Big turn off.
Yeah. Fuck that. I didn't see reason. Yeah, because what makes you think that you're going to be different at some point?
That's right. Failure to launch was another one for me. Like these boys that are having their mamas drop off their laundry at 35 and drop off their dinner.
Is that a red flag or a deal breaker or both?
That's a red. For me, it's a deal breaker. For others, perhaps it's a red flag. I'm not trying to take care of another child. Yeah. Do laundry, cook your dinner, go to work. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a big red flag, of course, is also like if you are you're expressing your emotions like early on, there's something that you're upset about or you're worried, and you express, and they defend, they deny, they deflect, they don't take responsibility. Like right there from the beginning, you are getting a really good snapshot of how safe of a relationship this is for you to be able to communicate your feelings. And if they can't or they can't take any feedback, understand you, hear you, validate, or even try to change the behavior, assuming it's problematic. That is a major red flag, people.
That's right.
Yeah. But then people do have deal breakers. So, I mean, I encourage you to sit down and be like, what's your red flags? What's your deal breakers? You may have other red flags that we're not identifying, or you have deal breakers. Like I have some friends that are like, if you've ever spent time in jail, you're not for me. You're off the bat, right off the bat.
Yeah. Nope. What's the other one we were talking about? The dick pics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Red flag.
Yeah.
How many people have told me that in therapy? That they were sent dick pics.
Yeah.
Like early on.
No, it's not a red flag. You just want to have sex. What do you want?
To see that. Nobody. That's.
Well, I don't say nobody wants to see that.
I'm saying if they're looking for a relationship today, it's like intrusive.
Right.
Unless you asked for one.
Well, and I think that's the bullshit of dating. Like, I know people are like, I have on my, hey, I am religious. I'm looking for a long-term partner. I'm not trying to look for any kind of, just hookup. And then people are still sending their dick pics. It's just very disrespectful too. Like, first of all, read it. And then you're that narcissistic, so you think I'm going to show you my quote unquote big dick and you will date me. And so you just look like a loser. You look like a loser. If you're listening, but you probably aren't because women are listening to this, don't. No, but if you're looking for a hookup, then the dick pic might be right for you. But from partnership, kind of thinking about what's your standards. And that also goes into a whole nother thing about talk about, but your boundaries around intimacy and sexual relationships too. You get to set that. And so are people respecting that or pushing that as you're dating? To me, that's a big red flag.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, are they listening to what you're saying and respecting it?
Yeah. The deal breaker for me would have been someone who's clingy. Based on who I am, I'm definitely not a codependent. I'm probably erred more on the avoidance. So if someone was like clingy or make me feel bad when I'm out working or hanging out with friends doing normal things, I would have been like, heck no.
But you bring up a good point because you're talking about this in terms of future bar crawls. You're talking about how if we had a dating bar crawl,
yes,
so cool. And then having people fill out a questionnaire and matching people up by colors of colors on their lanyards based on their attachment skills. So like if your attachment style is, let's say avoidant, you don't want somebody who's more dependent. This native dependent will want to depend. So like, so maybe those two would work well together. So it's kind of like knowing what your attachment style and what would work well.
Yeah, because if someone's clingy, I'd be like, I need space, and they're gonna be like,
right. And I know plenty of people who would like a clingy person.
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't, but I know others that would. So it's like, yeah, it's like, what are your personal red flags and why?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Deeper red flags too: gaslighting, minimizing your feeling, emotional unavailability, failure to commit. I think being inconsistent with your promises too. If people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm open to children," and then later they're like, "I'm not," So that's changing of what they say from the beginning, and I think that goes back to inconsistency. But what are green flags? What are signs that maybe this is a healthy relationship?
I think consistent communication, consistent boundaries, following through between what you say and what you do. Oftentimes people say things in therapy. They're like, I want this, this, and this. And then I point out your actions are not matching up to your words.
Yeah.
So like that consistency we've been talking about a lot, like a genuine curiosity about you is really important just to get to know you. And then we talk a lot about emotional regulation. So like, how do you feel around that person? Do you feel chaotic or do you feel calm?
Yeah.
You feel like you're afraid you're going to upset them and, walking on eggshells? Or do you feel like pretty chill?
And like healthy relationships, you don't question. Like people come in and they've been like, I don't know, what does this mean? Is he doing this? Is she doing this? Like, I don't know. Are we committed or aren't we? Like a lot of times when it's healthy, it's flowing. You know where you stand. There's like, right, you're able to communicate that. You understand things. You don't question.
Yeah, I mean, and it's okay to argue.
Sure.
Sometimes I think people think that if you argue, it's a problem. Arguing well is actually really healthy.
Right. Like that both people can express discomfort or differing agreement, differing viewpoint, hold that emotion and have a healthy conversation about it.
Yeah, and navigate that because you're never going to be 100% on the same page, but can you navigate it? Can you navigate as conflict without escalating and emotionally regulate, yourself and come to a resolution or even agree to disagree?
Yeah.
But like, that's a really important thing.
Well, I think also genuine curiosity and care for you. Like, I think that when your partner keeps you in mind, even when they're not with you, they know where you are and they're thinking about you, or they're like, they see something, they're like, you know what, my partner would really love that. I'm going to just bring her some flowers today. So again, like you are as a primary partner, like the most important person in that person's life. It's just to be considered, cared for, thought about, I think is very healthy.
And the other part I think is really important is this person helping you become the best version of yourself? Not that they're doing something for you, but like, are they supportive of your growth, of your independence, the things you're interested in, of your hobbies, your friendships? Like, are they supportive of you or are they wanting to control, contract, keep you in, keep you limited? And, that's like a big red flag because sometimes you meet a person who's maybe they're even an amazing person, but they're not allowing you to be the full version of yourself. It doesn't match. So
that's a huge one, which we skipped over the red flags, the control and coercion. But yeah, the one who was your cheerleader, who wants to be your best self, who wants you to be successful. Like everybody's winning when we're becoming the best versions of ourselves.
Because that means there's no like the insecurity is low and they're okay with you becoming the best version. It's not a threat to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
alignment and values is another one.
Sure.
And that one is tricky too because there could be certain things you don't align on, but you can agree to.
But you have respect for each other's differing opinions. I feel like that's lost a lot these days too. And we say to people like, hey, this is, what would it be like your new partner if you brought them to meet your friends and family? And if the answer is, assuming your friends and family are relatively healthy, okay? Like, if the answer is just they're gonna really like this person, that's great. But if you're like, oh, I don't know because of this, and that, like that can be a sign. I'm not saying it's a hard no, but like, why are you worried to bring them? What are they gonna see that you think they're gonna raise to you a concern?
The caveat to that I'm thinking is I've had so many clients whose parents or families are so critical.
I said if the families were healthy.
The family is healthy, yeah. Yes, if the families are healthy. If they're not healthy, then don't be battling to please your family. Do it. Yeah. What aligns with you.
Yeah, and fair, your caveat is noted.
Yeah.
But listen, so I've definitely had people who had the love bombers and narcissists, and after in hindsight, they're like, oh, I ignored so many things. So why do people ignore red flags?
Why they ignore, one of the big things that comes up in therapy a lot is in people's upbringing is that not wanting to rock the boat, not wanting to create conflict, not wanting to have uncomfortable feelings. Like that is a really very dominant communication style in so many families that they don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's like the avoidant pattern, right?
Yeah, the avoidance. That could be a big part of why they don't.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think also often, I think the influx of those neurotransmitters we talked about, the feelings of euphoria, because it feels so good to be loved and attended to. And then you're like, okay, but that guy didn't pay his bills. I keep saying guy, it could be anybody. Their partner didn't pay their bills. They haven't had a job in 2 years, but they make me feel so important and special. Oh, yeah, they just kicked their dog, but that's okay. They were angry that day. Almost always people are like, yeah, I ignored my intuition.
That's right. Yeah. And then the other part I think that's blinding sometimes for people is the chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, there's like, I had somebody call it crack sex, right? Where it's just like, it's just, there's nothing healthy about it, but there's so much chemistry. So like, not blinding sometimes.
Yeah, sure. Especially if it's the pattern they're used to. Because I think when people sometimes have had that pattern, the chemistry or the pattern of the, up and down, inconsistent in and out, and all that, like, right, excitement, quote unquote. Yeah, secure relationships seem really boring.
Yeah, right.
It's safe. There's not like fireworks. There's not a big fight and makeup sex,
Yeah.
So it's a reorientation for people. So I think that keeps them in this, that conflating like toxic relationships with like passion.
Yeah.
Or this is romance. It has to have the fireworks. This is some level of excitement and energy. You can't be a total dud, but
Right. Yeah. With this constant explosion, fireworks, oftentimes that need for that is oftentimes the trauma response. We talk about this too with a lot of occupations that are societally acceptable jobs with these highs, like being a football player or jumping out of airplanes, being a Navy SEAL, or like these jobs that are like very high intensity. Oftentimes people that engage in those jobs or engage in these relationships are survivors of trauma. Like their system is not regulated, and it seeks out that
that anxious
activation. Yeah, the brain wants that.
Yeah. So I want to talk about a little bit for a second, like the yellow flags, because as you're dating someone, you're really assessing them. It's like you're doing a psychological evaluation for multiple months. Okay. But and this is where the list is good. I've had many clients go back to the list and they're like checking green flags, checking gray. And then there's like, oh, well, this red one came up. They're like, it came up where there's a concern. It's not like a pattern behavior, but it came up. So, That's where I call it yellow. We don't know if it's red yet. Red means it's consistent and it's happening. So if it's yellow, then this is your opportunity, right, to voice it and to see and to assess it a little bit more. And can this person change? Because sometimes, listen, things are modifiable. We'd be out of a job. We didn't believe thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are modifiable. So, like, that's what you're testing for. Like, hey, the way that you're approaching me, or let's keep it simple. You know what? You're canceling. Like, you canceled last minute the last 2 days, even though you reschedule. You're canceling. It's ruining my plans. Like, I'm missing out. It's making me upset. Whatever. And they're like, "Hey, I'm really sorry that my ADD behavior, is affecting you. I will make sure that I only commit moving forward when I know I can, unless there's extreme circumstances, then
Accountability.
the accountability, and they see and hear and they modify the behavior." And so my question was, did they change their behavior?
Yeah. You know what you said, that I think if people think of it that way, you're almost doing a mini psychological evaluation.
Totally.
Like when we would do psychological evaluation, okay, think about within 4 to 5 hours, we would assess people. We'd have to present our findings to court or to a school or to a doctor. Say, this is what we think this is. So you're basing all this data you're gathering in 5 hours to form an educated, knowledgeable opinion, and you have to back it up.
Yeah.
You have to say, this is what I think, and this is why. And so when we talk about these things, we want you to think about it in that way. You are gathering data.
Totally.
And you're creating an opinion that's educated. And so if you were to present this to someone and say, this is why I think this person is like that, and this is the data I have to support it. Not, well, they've been inconsistent, but they're really nice, and they treated the server really poorly, but they told me that was when they were in a bad mood, and stop making excuses. This is the data. You're gathering data, and that is very meaningful.
I love the way you're explaining that, because the question I always ask people is exactly that. Why are you continuing to invest in the person in this dating process? What is the reasons why? So it's conscious. And I think it's empowering also, because I think a lot of people who listen, with this kind of dating scene, you can get discouraged, you could feel or get hit on triggers if I'm not good enough, but so when people go in like, oh, are they gonna like me? That's a bad way to go in. But when you go in it on an equal and you're like, I am also assessing, is this person a suitable partner for me? Then that is a position of power. You are making decisions whether you continue to engage or not. And you get to call, and you're going to feel much better when you're cutting things off that don't fit your needs.
Yeah, think about the energy that you're bringing into a date. If you're walking in with the energy of like, is this person going to like me? How should I act?
Yeah.
Versus, I am gathering data to see if you are a good match for me.
Yeah.
And I am willing to spend my time with you.
Yeah. How?
That arrogant way.
No.
But it's just like, what am I willing to invest my time?
Yeah. Like, is this person enhancing your day, evening, or life? I'm always like, at this point, I'm like, I don't want anyone in my life that is not adding value. And dating should be the same way. Like, yeah, sure, I know you really want a partner, but did you just invite a whole bunch of chaos and uncertainty in your life, where you were just feeling fine and happy with your friends 2 months ago, and now all of a sudden you're like waiting by the phone and inconsistent?
That's right. That's valuable. The time we wasted in our 20s. Yeah, think of how much time. If you know how they say, if you're like 50-year-old self, if you go back to your 20-year-old self, what would you say? It's like, stop wasting time, bitch.
Yeah, he's not that great for me.
Well, I think we're going to have like more one feeling. Like, I think valuable, and like the older you get, the more you realize 50-year-old self is like, I don't have time for that. 20-year-old self is wasting time on a whole bunch of crap that doesn't matter. But
And that's why we're talking. Listen, I for sure dated a bunch of losers, and I had some insecurities younger on too. So I don't want you to think we've always been confident, know what we want. It's a lot easier as you move on and heal. But yeah, if we could get people to start thinking about that, because the more relationships you date with people that aren't good for you, like, you're just reinforcing these patterns of like your deepest fears.
yeah, thank you. Next.
Thank you. Next. Yes.
So what's our takeaway from this? Allowing safety, not boring.
I mean, number one, have a plan. You got to know what you're looking for.
Know what your red flags are. What the red flags are. What your red flags are as well.
If you're applying for a job, you wouldn't just like go apply at every industry and see what felt good for you.
Right.
It'd be like, I am selecting this person from the beginning based on their profile. Know what you want, what the plan is, and assess the plan. Continue to assess day to day and week to week and month to month. Because also people don't get married before 6 months. Anyone can keep patterns for multiple months, but it's really hard. That's just, again, anecdotal on my part. I feel like people cannot fake or hide behaviors more than 6 months. They come out.
When I think actually that honeymoon period with the endorphins, all of that is 18 months. And so after that, the reality hits.
Yeah. There's like a long couple. So it's like a long period.
I think, if I'm mistaken, it was like the imago therapy, that whole model.
I believe you. But I think you're talking about the endorphins coming down versus like a personality pattern.
Yes.
Like, you know, I remember those love bombers, like they're not lasting 2 years.
Yeah. And when people show you who they are, believe them. Like the first time or the second. That's all.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't need 20 examples.
Right.
Imagine like going back to this like eval thing. You're not evaluating somebody for 30 hours to do, you know, like a battery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, data points. So yeah, so evaluate, be open, be conscious, notice how you feel, trust your nervous system and your intuition. Because that is often it. Tell him wow.
Yeah, and look at consistency, communication, boundaries, be willing to walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So dating is about discernment, not perfection. So, you know, figure it out. But what I do want to tell you is that if you are recently, you know, just had a breakup or a divorce and you're kind of in that period of just like refiguring yourself, our wonderful employee, Andrada Floresco, just created an e-course called The Alchemy of Breakups. And it is a wonderful course of doing self-work, insight work, and hypnotherapy. So learning, doing some insight, who am I? What are the patterns I need to heal? Who do I want to become? And like gaining that confidence. So many of these are talking about, but really setting yourself up for success. So we hope you check that out if that appeals to you. All right. Good luck in your dating ventures, and don't hesitate to drop a comment if you want to tell us about some of the red flags that you've learned through your experiences or some of the green or any of your experiences. We would love to hear them. Thanks for tuning in.
So we just finished recording 2 podcasts, one on narcissism and one on dating red flags. If you have any interesting dating stories to share, drop them down here and then we will discuss them on our podcast.